Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to the Cornwall Property Podcast, where every week we bring you the latest news, hot topics and guidance around the Cornwall property market.
Stay tuned to be informed, inspired and to have any of your property related questions answered by trusted local property professionals.
Welcome back, episode 16.
Here we are, and I am James. Good to be here.
And I'm Dan, and this is the Cornwall Property Podcast. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't joined us before, we are here to inform, educate, inspire you guys to get involved with property, and we're trying to give a little particular emphasis on the Cornwall property market, obviously, hence the name, but the main issue and the main concern we've got is the Cornwall housing prices that I'm sure all of us are well aware of now, but there is a severe lack of supply of property, and far too many people are still needing homes which aren't currently available. So what we're trying to do is educate you guys and how to help tackle this crisis, bring in empty homes. There's a lot of empty homes and unsuitable homes in the Cornwall market currently that we would like to see brought back to the market. And with our help, hopefully, and some guidance, we can all do that together.
Absolutely. And just for you guys, especially if it's your first time listening or viewing, you can send all of your information in to us. You can do that by going to cornwallpropertypodcast.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you can then send your message in that way. Or you can also get us on social media. Most people go on the Facebook platform and just, anything property related or anything that we can help with, let us know. And thank you to everybody that has been giving all these wonderful, points to us and also the questions. And without further ado, this is the favourite, well, I say it's my favourite, I love interacting with our viewers and listeners. We've got the part of the show where we get to, have your questions coming in. So we have Yvonne, lovely comment here. I've been listening to your podcast and really enjoy it. I'm glad you do, and it's not too boring. It's always nice to get that feedback. And Yvonne's question was, you mentioned previously about getting a mentor. How do you recommend finding one, or are there any that you can recommend? I am looking to invest in property, well done, and I also have a property-related business, so looking for a mentor for both if possible. But in relation to the investment side, what would be most important? Ideally looking to invest in commercial or commercial and residential.
Yeah, interesting.
Good question.
Well, thank you for your support, and thank you for getting in touch. So it's an interesting question and really good question. And we are, James and I, we are in business together. Obviously, we do the podcast together. We are true believers of mentorship. We have two mentors, actually. We have a general business mentor and we have a property-specific mentor as well. And why do we have that? Why do we have a mentor? Simply, a mentor is someone that we can go to share and get that kind of Hawkeye kind of bird's eye view on the business and our vision, and just be told that, Dan, James, no, don't do it. You're being ridiculous. Or, yeah, great idea. Just get a bit of a steer. And I think the idea is that you're trying to find people that are doing what you want to be doing, or they've done what you want to be doing. So people that can help you maybe avoid pitfalls that you don't know are there yet. Someone that can help push you in the directions that you're not sure if you should be going in. So I think it's just a way of looking at a foggy road ahead of you, but the mentor can help just clear the mist, clear the fog, and make that direction far clearer, and make it hopefully a bit less painful. There's bound to be hurdles and things you're going to come across investing and in any business type of thing. But so if you've got someone who has been there and has done that, has the experience and can help you avoid and navigate these pitfalls, then I'd rather be avoiding and learning from other people's mistakes and making my own personally. And I know you're a massive believer in that too, James.
Big time, yeah. I mean, it's a given that, lots of successful people in the world do have mentors, from Richard Branson to Bill Gates. They've all got mentors, and it is a bit of a denominator. And it's, I think, on a property side of things, if you are investing on your own, as we've discussed previously in podcasts, it can get quite lonely, quite stressful, especially if you've got big refurbs on, or, property is quite daunting because we're not dealing with $2,000 for a new car and you're going to try and sell it for $3,000. We're talking, in many cases, hundreds of thousands of pounds worth. So it's quite nice just to brush shoulders with that mentor and get some guidance, and to let some steam off with that that individual. But also, when you break it down, you can have a real talent if you're a famous footballer in the making, right? And you're very good at hitting the ball, but you still need that coach, don't you, to fine tune and maybe do 1,000 corners or penalties to really fine tune the direction that you want to go. And then that mentor can help you get noticed. And it's no different with property, that you can go out there and read lots of books and things, but just as you said, Dan, just go and find people that can mentor you, that have done it all before you. And I see one of the biggest values is you're buying into their mistakes, that you don't have to find out the hard way and progress your property journey. So I would highly recommend it. And, I have a mentor myself, and I also have mentees that I mentor because I really enjoy it and I love helping other people. And generally, most mentors do, because, it's not a cheap way to go for sure. But if you think, where do I want to be in 5 years' time, and they're going to be able to help you get there in 2, then
it's a fast track, isn't it?
No brainer.
Yeah. That's it. So part of your question, Yvonne, was obviously, how do you find a mentor? And for me and us as well, how we found a mentor is we've networked, getting yourself amongst the crowds, in terms of, we're very, very interested in property. So we go to property events, whether that be networking events locally or on a national basis, but trying to find people doing what we want to be doing, and people who are a few years ahead of us. But are achieving the things that we want to be achieving. So they would be, first of all, right, okay, for example, we know our goals, we've set our goals, we do that we revise them every quarter, but we sit down every year, at the end of every year, to just say, look, reflect on what we've achieved this year. We look at them, where do we want to be this next year? And then each quarter we'll just have a little QGM, we call it. So a quarterly general meeting, we'll have a meeting just to reflect on, right, are we still on track to achieve these goals? Yes, brilliant. If not, why not? And then how do we get back on track? So a mentor will help you do this as well. But how do you find that mentor? You need to get yourself in the crowds with people, mixing with people that are doing what you want to be doing, whether it's a general business, because you mentioned you want to get involved with property. Well, you need to start going to some property events. And a mentor, it doesn't have to be a formal arrangement either. It might just be someone who is ahead of you where you are currently, and you might just say, well, look, would it be possible to take you out for some lunch? Obviously, there's got to be a fair exchange there. You can't expect busy people to just give up their time, and we never would either. But I think it's a case of, well, look, James, you can see you've done a lot, and you're a lot further ahead than me, and you're doing what I'd love to do. Like, James, not necessarily maybe be a formal mentor, but would you mind going for dinner with me, or would you come to lunch with me? It'll be on me. So James, what's James getting out of it? Well, James is getting a nice lunch out of it, but he's also getting a little bit of network. It's always a bonus. He likes his lunch. But again, it's just finding something that, well, what is it? Because you can't just go and try and be a leech and suck all this information, because why do these people want to give you this? If they're not going to be paid for it, rightly or wrongly, but if these people are busy, they're successful people, which is why you're approaching them. So they value their time. So it's finding something, right, James, what I could really do is sitting down with James. What I could really do is sitting down with Dan. But, okay, well, what is it that I could do or have or could offer them that would be of interest to them so that they want to sit down with me? So I think that is the key. So that's quite an informal way. Or if you know there are actual formal mentors available or around, or even just speak, who are your mentors? Ask other people. Like, we're happy to get in touch again, Yvonne, if you want to know who we work with. Happy to put you in the same in contact with our mentors and see if they could help you as well. But I think the key is just mixing with the right people, doing what you want to be doing, and just talk to them, find out what they're doing, and if you like them, you got the same vibe. It might not be the same type of person that you want to work with, character-wise. It's just finding someone who will fit and help you.
Absolutely. And just a small bit of advice, is just for myself, really. Like, there are lots of mentors that will do stuff like online and all that type of stuff. But I personally think you want that tangibility of actually, this is not just for the free lunch, by the way, but it's actually going to sit down with somebody with a laptop, and you can actually physically write down your goals, where you want to be, and listen to their stories. It's just a bit nicer doing it, at a cafe or something like that, where you can, just crunch some numbers and brush shoulders, and mentors have a nature for helping others. So if you ask, you're not going to get turned down. Go for it.
No, so hopefully that helps, Yvonne. And again, if you've got any more questions off the back of that, obviously you are most welcome to get back in touch again, but really appreciate your time, and thanks for listening. So next question, James, I'm going to throw this one at you. This is from Paul in Camelford. Again, Paul, thanks for getting in touch. And Paul's question is, well, he said he's looking to dive into the buy-to-let world. Good man. And I know a lot of the calculations are done on the property in terms of lending and its performance. Do you have to have a good credit rating also, or does it not really matter? James.
Wow, that's a good question there, Paul. And well done for jumping into the buy-to-let world. Obviously going to be helping, taking action. Exactly that. And you are absolutely right. You have what they call stress tests that mortgage companies do. So the majority of the numbers, you're buying it for this, you're going to do some refurb to it and refinance, or maybe you're just going to buy and hold. They will look at the property's performance. Now, by performance, if you're going to rent it out, which if it's a buy-to-let, obviously you are going to be letting it out. they would just have a look at, the gearing really. By gearing, we mean, how much money you've got borrowed against the property, how much equity that you've got in the property, and how much the rental is going to be. And they're going to do a stress test on that. Typically, you'll be looking at 145%, of the rental income that's coming in per annum, and they do it on that. However, credit rating definitely does come into the mix. Now, we've talked in previous podcast episodes about the benefits of buying in a limited company, a limited liability. Most people think that, well, that's great. Well, it's all going to be done on the company that I've just set up and it's all nice and clean. It doesn't quite work like that. You have to look at it from the lender's point of view. The lenders are lending you money. That's their business. They want to lend you lots of money, but they want to de-risk it as much as possible. So, limited liability with a limited company. What happens if Dan folded his, newly born limited company for 2 months and then that's it and they never get their money back? Of course they don't. What they do after the stress test is they'll then look at the individual, the director of the company and the individual, and they'll start picking them apart. And although most of the figures are done on the performance of the property, they want to have their backstop, so they will look firstly at your credit rating. And we've talked about previously with Dan's question there from Yvonne, you do need to have a good credit rating because the banks are wanting to lend to you, and your mentor will tell you. That's the point I was going to make. The mentor will say, that's the first thing my mentor said to me, how did your credit rating look? And you can go on lots of companies online like Equifax, for example. Experian is quite a popular one, and you can just sort of unpick it and see how you're looking and are you lendable, basically. And although you might have good lending history, maybe on credit cards or finance on a car, what people don't realise is what can knock your credit rating, and that can be something really simple, like a credit card you had 10 years ago and you've only got £1 on it, but you haven't made a payment to that credit card, and that credit card says, oh my God, I'm chasing you again and again. They were sending the letters to the old address, and then suddenly you've got bailiffs, coming out after you just for £1. That's one thing. Something I learned the hard way in the early property days. I had really good lending power. But then I realised my credit rating took a huge knock, and that was basically because I moved house, but it was on one of my credit cards. I didn't owe anything on it, but I didn't tell them that I'd moved address, and they still had me registered on the other card. And basically, when the lender did some searches, they found one card wasn't registered. So it's quite sensitive, isn't it, Dan, the credit rating?
Massively, yeah. And I think the key there is people naively may think, and we would have done it back in the day before we learned, and the mentors helped guide us back at the start, in terms of, you think, okay, well, I'll buy in a limited company, well, all the assets will be in a limited company. Well, no, obviously they're not going to lend. Although you're doing this in a limited company, they're lending to you, the director of the limited company. So of course they're going to do checks on yourself. So yeah, I think it's key just to keep tabs on that credit rating. I too have had a similar situation where James is, I had a credit card. I think I had £2 outstanding on a credit card from I think it was probably like an iCloud subscription that I forgot to move across. £2. Again, the next month it went up to £4. The next month it went up to £6. But because I hadn't updated my address and my details, I wasn't aware of this. So when it came to get lending on someone else's account, well, actually there's something that's been flagged up here as a risk on your credit rating. Well, I said, my credit score's in like late 900s, or what's the problem? But it literally is. It was because there was a £4 debt that had accumulated from a couple of months, and we were unaware. But again, it's so important just to regularly check that credit rating. Again, it costs £15.99 a month. I think you get a month free as well for Experian. So it's just so good and so important just to regularly just keep a little eye on that credit score. You can just log in free of charge to Experian just to find out your credit score and just to get an overview. But if you want to get a more in-depth report on every sort of bit of information under your name that all the lenders could see and want to know, then you pay $15.99 to upgrade your subscription from a free account to $15.99, and you can get that report. But again, after a month, cancel it. You've got it
Absolutely, and you've made such a valid point there, Dan, that you get to see what the lenders see. People think they can just sign up to Experian, they get the 3 month, they cancel it, and then 2 months later they find themselves actually applying for finance for a lender for a property. But then I can see everything on the first page, the headline page, that no, it's all green, it's fine, and then the lender revokes the offer because there's something you didn't realise, you didn't even think of. We humans, we're busy people, we don't always see everything. So it is great to get that.
And the earlier you can find these issues, the better.
Absolutely. So. It does certainly matter because the banks, although there's some great rates at the moment, because of the situation around the world and the pandemic, they are tightening the strings massively. So there's more hoops that you've got to get through. So credit rating is a given. Always make sure that it's looking good.
And like we always say, Paul, always seek professional advice. Obviously, these are just our opinions from our experiences, but we are by no means financial advisors or anything like that, so just always double check with your broker at what sort of requirements they would want to see. But typically from our experience, the credit rating is important. Absolutely. So that brings us to close on the Ask Dan and James episode this week. So that's episode 16 of the Cornwall Property Podcast. We're ticking through. Hope you're enjoying. Hope you, if you haven't listened back, feel free to have a little scroll back and listen to the early podcast. But for those that have listened from the start and are still listening, thank you so much for your support and most importantly for your questions, because we couldn't do this episode without them. So James, how can people get in touch if they want to have a question, I suppose?
They can go to cornwallpropertypodcast.com. They can send us an email, hello@cornwallpropertypodcast.com as well. But the majority, let's be honest, we're in a social world these days and people are always scrolling on Facebook. Literally just go onto our page there and get talking to us. We're here waiting to listen.
We'd love to hear from you.
Indeed.
Again, please subscribe to our channels, and we really, really appreciate any form of feedback. And thank you once again for listening with us today. That's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Thanks, guys. See you next time.